Don, did you have a question?
Yeah, for everybody. Is there a moderator here? I just like that.
Yes.
My question is about campaign finance laws. What are each of your positions on campaign finance donations by individuals and corporations? And assuming everybody's going to say, yeah, they can give money, what are your positions on campaign finance transparency, i.e. the reporting system? Let's say we allow an infinite amount of money, but we still have the reporting system in place. What is your position? Would you advocate for complete abolition of all campaign finance laws, including the transparency laws, which would mean that Bill Gates could come in and drop $2 million on Sue Wallace's election and get her elected, and she wouldn't have to say a word to anybody? So all four.
I do believe in transparency. As far as the limits go, I don't feel qualified to make any statements on that part of it. But I do have issues with between corporations and unions. I think if both of them ought to be on the same boat. Okay. If the corporations have restrictions on them, I believe that the unions ought to also. I'm going to let it go with that for myself.
I guess on the one hand, I think that anybody who wants to support any candidate with money or time or help should be able to do so without restriction, period. Doesn't matter what kind of entity they are. And that if they choose to, which is one of the most American of things to do, is to join with other like-minded people and pool your resources and get behind somebody who thinks the way you do, then go for it. You ought to be able to do that without restriction and without any limitations whatsoever. I think that's one of the most basic of our American principles. On the other hand, I am also a true believer in open, transparent transactions, and I think that not in our private affairs, but if you are going to run for public office and you are going to be supported by somebody, well, even if you are going to be supported only by yourself, but if you're going to be supported by other people, and most of us are, that anybody should be able to look at that and see who is supporting your candidacy, because that says a lot about, or you know, it can have some bearing on how you might vote for someone if you knew that they were being mostly supported by out-of-state entities, for instance. I don't think they should be limited, but I do think it needs to be open and available for anyone who has the interest to seek. I also think that that needs to be true for all levels of government, everywhere, so that if you want to look and see how your school district got its money, where they spent it, and who got that money, that should be something that's easy and available for any interested citizen anytime they like.
So I'd like to interrupt. Just to clarify, you gave two options, which I think Don also gave, and you see value in both. So where do you come down? Can the government hold a gun to your head in a few months and tell you to tell us who gave you money and how much? What's your kind of your final conclusion on that?
They already do, and there is an online system, the Wyoming Campaign Finance Reporting System.
Should it cease to exist?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. You can give me all the money you want, but I'm going to tell everybody that you did.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I do agree. You're running for a public office, everything should be public information that you do with that public office or campaign for it. Do I believe that there's limits on how much somebody should donate to your campaign? No. Because what that person decides to do with their property, which is their money that they earned, is their business. It's not the government's business to tell them how much that they're allowed to spend on this or this. As far as corporations go, the owner of those corporations, I believe that they have the right. The corporate board is their business. It's not the government's business, it's their business. They make the decision. If they want to put too much money into a campaign that's not going to work, their business fails, that's their fault. You know? And I hope they don't go ask for bailouts because of it. That's
Transparency question.
transparency question. You repeat that one, Don?
Yeah, should you be required to report all of your donations?
Yes.
Okay.
I've logged on to WY Campaign Finance quite a few times because I really want to know how much my opponents have gathered up. And I'm really even more interested, on the 27th is the deadline for expenditures. The system is flawed in as much as if you cannot come up with a name where you think that candidate might have spent some money, the program's not going to tell you. It'll give you a bar graph and tell you how much money they spent, but it won't tell you where that money went. So I believe in complete transparency. I think it should be listed. As far as the money coming in, well, I haven't put a contribute tab on my webpage yet because I don't think that politics should be so about the money. And it just doesn't make sense to me that a public servant comes in out of college, out of big business, out of small business, off the damn street, serves their term, and now they are millionaires. It just appears to me that if you have somebody out there that just loves you, that just, oh, you're the guy for you're the gal for the job. You are the one, and I'm going to give you all the money you could ever use. At the end of the day, do you owe the people that you're working for, or do you owe the person that funded your campaign? Some other little thing too. You know, we're running for state office, and I'm running for state office. There's a big difference between being a public servant in a state in the United States and being a public servant in Washington, D.C. I'm appalled by the volume of dollars that both Obama and McCain collected in this last election. I mean, they had millions of dollars left over. I think it's ridiculous. I feel that there should be equal time on the air and in the paper for representation. I don't think that, that this structure that we have where a candidate can just collect oodles of money and spew it all over the place and have name recognition because of all of their signs as opposed to their deeds. I think something's flawed there. One last thing. Here in the state of Wyoming, it's a $1,000 cap. You know, an individual can contribute to a candidate's campaign, $1,000. That's the cap. That same person can turn around and contribute just as much money as they want to a PAC, a Political Action Committee. This is one thing I'd like all of you to do. Log on to WY Campaign Finance and just look at the $1,000 contributors and see how many of these people have donated to a PAC, and see where that money that the PACs collected goes. You can't see that on this webpage. I find that to be an incredibly large backdoor for the 2% of the individuals that own all of the wealth over the rest, 98% of us, to fund their one money. You know, it's just like buying the Kentucky Derby, folks.
Okay, you didn't answer my question. My question is, should there be campaign finance limitations?
Yes, there should. And absolute crystal clear transparency.